Stop Killing Games is seemingly the saviour for everyone, unless your name is Thor. Surrounding all of the buzz around the campaign and its EU petitions, one of the biggest game dev content creators, Thor, the face of Pirate Software, recently released 2 videos stating that he is against what Stop Killing Games is asking for, and seeing it as a threat to developers instead. After listening to both sides, I wanted to discuss this topic and why having this counter-argument as YouTube drama is nothing but harmful to everyone. As a disclaimer for those that don't know me, I am just a hobbyist gamer and a hobbyist game developer, and these are just my thoughts. But let's get straight into it. I would highly recommend watching the original video by Ross Scott on the campaign, as well as Pirate Software's response to understand the full context, but I'll give you a quick summary first and foremost. The Crew, a 2014 online racing game, had its servers shut down earlier this year, which left the game completely unplayable in any state, meaning that people who paid for that game could no longer play it. This was annoying for anyone that still wanted to play the game, but the main point is that it sets a really bad precedent for publishers, showing that they can remove access to something that they previously charged money for. This has led to a massive discussion about this practice, and led by Ross Scott of Accursed Farms, the Stop Killing Games campaign has led the charge in the fight against allowing publishers to effectively kill games. What this campaign wants is to ensure games are preserved in such a way that they are still playable in some capacity forever. Most single player games aren't affected by this. However, as the market leans to include more live service games, it's becoming even more common for an internet connection to be required to access the game's servers even when you are playing a single player experience. So what were the controversial points made by Thor in response to this? The first point he focused on was that without the involvement of the publisher or developer in regards to operating the servers, it opens up avenues for players to exploit the game. In his example, he used League of Legends, where you need a client-server system to prevent people from accessing data that they shouldn't be able to. But this is a complete non-issue if you allow community servers to exist. If players are allowed to host their own servers, the game can still follow the client-server architecture. It's just accessing third-party servers as opposed to Riot's own dedicated ones, if they were to shut them down at any point. And these can be moderated by their respective owners. It removes any responsibility from the publisher for the experience on those servers because they do not own or operate them. If players have issues with the server host or there are outages, instead of being stuck with nothing, they can just find another one, or host their own server instead, freeing themselves from the dependency of others. But I understand that that is hard to do for a game like Pokemon Go, which is online only and has an extreme scale on the server side. This is the type of game that would have a large development cost, adjusting the game's architecture to allow for custom servers, but it's still not an impossible task. The developers and publishers should be held responsible for allowing access in some form, as they are the ones that have taken the money in the first place. If a publisher wants to sunset a project, they have every right to do so, and so I wouldn't expect any updates or events to take place from then on. But it should still be possible to access the game in the state that it was left in. He also brought up issues plaguing Team Fortress 2, with servers filled with bots and cheaters completely ruining the experience for other players. But you know what the funny thing is about this point? Team Fortress 2 has community servers. It's one of the main reasons the game is so big and has had such a strong community for so long. And these community servers are moderated by their own teams, and have been able to mostly manage this issue themselves. It's on Valve's own dedicated servers that the bots run free, as Valve are mostly hands-off with TF2 at this point. And another example is Minecraft. It is the single biggest game in the world, and for the first few years of its existence, it didn't have any dedicated servers until Realms came along in 2014. Yet thanks to community-hosted servers, the game was able to grow a massive player base online, with servers such as Hypixel welcoming tens of millions of players since its inception. Would it have grown to the size it is today without community involvement? I just don't think so. And if the developers are forced to release servers at the game's end of life for others to host, and they try to monetize them to profit off of your work, should that be allowed too? And I can only speak for myself, but my thoughts are simply, yes, that should absolutely be allowed. I have been a part of quite a few community servers in the past, and they have had some paid extras so they can afford to run the server. This is not IP theft. They are not stealing something to profit off of others. They are running a server that comes with costs and they want to cover them. That is absolutely fine in my eyes. This would become an issue if they're selling or distributing the game client itself, but that's not what people are asking for. As long as the game is available to purchase from the publisher, players should have to buy it legitimately, of course. But if a game is no longer on any market for sale and it's just abandonware, then downloading it from a third party is also completely fine. The publishers aren't providing it, so what difference does it make? One of my favourite games of all time is Lord of the Rings Battle for Middle-earth 2. I can't buy that on Origin or Steam, so I'll happily download it from my abandonware instead. One of the points Thor made that really annoyed me was when he started to break down the player base of the crew, going over the fact that it is a game from 2014 and in recent years did not have that many people playing it. This is completely irrelevant to Stop Killing Games. It does not matter how many people are playing that one game, because without further action, this will keep happening until it is about a game with thousands of daily players suddenly all without access. It's clear whataboutism and conversation shifting to get a point across, and I don't agree with it at all. He also mentioned that games such as Apex Legends can't be preserved because they require a large player count for each match. And with dwindling numbers, that just isn't possible. But that is not for him or the publisher to decide. If someone wants to load up an Apex Legends game with a small group of friends, that's their choice. It won't be the same as a full lobby, but it's infinitely better than not having that option at all. Another argument is the ownership versus licensing debate. When you buy a game, you're most likely not actually buying the game, but instead it's a license to access the game, which is such a grey area for ownership. If you ever buy a game from me, as far as I'm concerned, you own it. I will never try to revoke access or claim it as anything other than ownership. And if I do for any reason, just go ahead and pirate it. That's cool with me. I don't understand how anyone, let alone someone that enjoys games, can be okay with burning down the house when the publisher is done with it. And a lot of issues that games have had in the past is due to licensing external media. Any music, brands or IPs that exist in games that have been licensed usually expire based on the deal the publisher made with their respective owners. This can cause issues later down the line where they're no longer permitted to sell a game with these included, like GTA 4, which had an update in 2018 to remove a selection of songs from the game as the licenses had expired. This needs to be addressed by Stop Killing Games as well, as publishers should be expected to remove or replace these affected elements to the best of their ability without affecting gameplay. And this is where I actually do agree with Thor to some extent. The wording and goals for Stop Killing Games does need to be worked on to establish clear routes for developers to take. Overall, I agree that the initiative isn't the perfect saviour that some may see it as, but attacking it with strawman arguments and anti-consumer rhetoric just isn't the way to go. Have an actual conversation about it, discuss ways to change it, and work together to ensure that gamers can enjoy games whenever they want. I know that Stop Killing Games is not the most refined campaign, but the whole purpose is to open up a conversation surrounding this topic and to grant the consumers more protection from these bad business practices.